So you're thinking about living in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys, and maybe you don't want to live in a larger town like Harrisonburg or Staunton or Waynesboro. Well, in this series of videos, and in this video, I'm going to take you on a map tour of some of the towns between Harrisonburg and Staunton, so you can see what some of the smaller towns are like, what some of the homes are like in those neighborhoods, and get a feel for some of those smaller towns. And if you hang around to the end of this video, I have an event that takes place every year in one of these towns that is a big, big, big event. So stay around to the end so you can find out what that is. But we're going to get started right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, playing, everything to do here in Virginia's mountains and valleys, then click on the subscribe button and touch that bell icon so you can be the first to be notified about all the current real estate market here in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys. Hi, my name's Stephen Gleason along with my wife Leslie, and we get phone calls and emails every day from folks just like you who are looking to make a move to Virginia, or looking to move across Virginia, or looking to sell a home in Virginia. And we absolutely love it when we get those calls because we love to help those folks. So if you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, just pick up the phone and give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. That information is all in the description down below, and we'll be happy to help you take care of your real estate needs here in Virginia's mountains and valleys. Now, as I said, today we're going to go on a little bit of a map tour between several small towns between Harrisonburg and between Staunton. And the last map video that I did, it was a little bit the northern towns closer to Harrisonburg. This time we're going to be a little closer to Staunton. And the towns that we're going to look at today are Churchville, Verona, Fort Defiance, Mount Sidney, and Weyers Cave. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to start our journey in Churchville. So let's go to the map and let's take a look at Churchville. And so as you can see on the map here, Leslie and I have loaded up in the car again, and we're starting here in downtown Churchville, and we're starting at the Necessary Mercantile store here in downtown Churchville. There's beekeeping things here, equipment here. There's of course honey. There's they have White's Wayside bread. They have pastries there. They have actually a nature tour where they teach you how to grow mushrooms and things like that. There's a whole lot of other products, maple syrup, things like that as well. So if you ever get a chance to get down to the Necessary Mercantile store there in Churchville, it'd probably be a great visit for you. But that being said, let's go ahead and let's look here at the map a little bit as I share my screen here with you. And we're taking a look at the map here of Churchville itself. You see that it's relatively a very small town, right? I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here just a little bit so you can get an idea about where Churchville actually sits. As you can see, it sits west of Staunton. And in that sitting west of Staunton, you can see that Highway 42, Scenic Highway, we've talked about that in some other videos, runs north-south through Staunton. And then Highway 250, all the way in from West Virginia and all the way down to the coast here in Virginia, runs through Churchville as well. Basically, that's the intersection, and one of the intersections there of those two highways. So that being said, we'll go ahead and let's just zoom back in here a little bit on Churchville. And as we zoom in here, again, you can see Highway 42 to the north up here, and it runs down south, and then Highway 250 where they intersect. Now, if I put the satellite image on here, you can see that Churchville, there's not a whole lot of homes. As a matter of fact, the population of Churchville is only about 250 right in the downtown. Now, the zip code has about 3,000 or 4,000 people in it. But as I zoom out, you can see over here on the western side, you have the Appalachian Mountains. If I zoom out a little bit further again, you can see Staunton down here in the bottom of the screen here, and it's about a 15-minute drive from Churchville to Staunton. Now, one of the questions we always ask is, we always get asked, well, what is there as far as, shopping and things like that in Churchville? So, well, as far as Churchville goes, Churchville is just kind of an outlier type town. It doesn't have a whole lot in it, obviously. As I said earlier, it's very small, but you do have right down here in the middle of town, you have, as we looked here just a second ago, you have the Necessary Mercantile Company, has some things there as well. And then there's a small shopping center out here on the west side of town where Highway 42 intersects Highway 250. In that shopping center, you're going to find the Riverside Grocery Store. You're going to find a Family Dollar. As you can see on there, there's a Tasty Eats restaurant there as well. And also in the middle of town here as well, you have a pizza place, and it's called Village Pizza 2. And if you're looking for something quick to eat, you can get that in Churchville. But for most things, you're going to have to go on over into Staunton for that. So when we were in Churchville, we looked at a couple different homes, a couple different areas, and so we'll zoom out on that just a little bit here. And one of the homes we looked at was in the northern side of Churchville here. It's on a nice country road, and it was a ranch home, and it had recently sold for $343,900. Another place that we looked at was down in this area right down in here, a place called Huntington Hills. And Huntington Hills was a fairly new community. A lot of the homes in there were built in the mid-90s and early 2000s. Most of them are going to run you between $300,000 and about $500,000. That's about 5 minutes south of Churchville. And one of the things about this community is they have very large lots in the community, and nice homes, of course, as well. And many of them had beautiful, beautiful mountain views of the Appalachian Mountains. And so, like I say, when you're talking about living in Churchville, while you may find a home that's kind of right in the downtown area, you're really more or less talking about looking in the area of Churchville and looking for a home in the country. And it's kind of interesting because although Churchville is a very small town, we do see quite a few homes that do come up on the market in Churchville. So if you're looking for a rural area that's just a little bit outside of town, but it still has, like I say, within 15 minutes you can be to things and get groceries and that type of thing, Churchville is a really good place for that. As far as parks go in town, there's obviously it's a very small town, so there's really no parks necessarily per se, but I'll zoom in here just a little bit. One of the things is you have a lot of hiking in the Appalachian trails, and here you can see Crawford Knob Trailhead, one of those trails, and there's more trails. If you were to go to the All Trails map and take a look at that, there's more trails within a half an hour in the Appalachian Mountains there for Churchville. So if you're into hiking, you're going to have a lot of enjoyable days there in the Appalachian Mountains. And like many of the towns here in the Shenandoah Valley, Churchville is no stranger to having festivals. And one of the festivals that they have is their annual Fall Festival every year. And this year in their Fall Festival, they have vintage tractors, they've got equipment, they've got engines, they've got vehicles, tools, all different types of things, many of which are, of course, of a historical type nature. And this year, if you have a child, you could even enter them in the kids' pedal pole, kind of like a tractor pull. So a lot of fun stuff going on in some of these festivals throughout the year. And that's just another one here in the area of Churchville that you could choose to go to if you so desire. And so with that being said, Leslie and I are going to go ahead and jump back in the car and take about a 20-25 minute drive and go on up to the town of Verona. And one of the things that we first looked at when we went into Verona was the fact that there's many different types of industries that are very strong economically. One of the places where many of those industries are is in the Mill Place Commerce Park. And they're even building new ones there right now as we speak. Other industries there in the area, you've got Shamrock Farms, you've got Dakin, you've got Accutech, you have a Graphic Packaging International plant, and then there's also a Best Buy distribution center there as well. So many of those places there are many opportunities in Verona for places of employment. So that being said, let's go ahead and we'll jump back here at the map and we'll take a look at a little bit about Verona. So let's go ahead and let's pull Verona up here on the map, and we'll zoom in here in just a second. But first of all, I wanted to talk to you about Mill Place Commerce Park, and kind of sits right in that area of Verona. And one of the reasons I bring it up is there's, if you watched our blog video, there's a sign there commemorating a home, which unfortunately can't get to anymore, but a home that where Grandma Moses lived from 1901 to 1902. Of course, Grandma Moses was a famous American painter, and I encourage you to watch our blog video about that so you can see a little bit more about that. But like I say, there are other industries, and those industries are all over town. But as you can see, you've got Interstate 81, which travels north and south, And then you also have Highway 11, which travels right through the middle of Verona and right through Staunton. So as far as having access to the interstate and getting up and down the eastern United States, there's no shortness of having that. Of course, if I were to zoom out just a little bit more here, you're also going to see that you can hit Interstate 64 as well, coming here from Verona, come on down to 81, hit 64, and going out to the coast into Virginia Beach. And of course, 81, 64 keeps going, and 64 will cut over to the Midwest, and 81 continues to go down into Tennessee. So it kind of gives you an idea about just how quick it is to get on and off the road there in Verona. Let's go ahead and as we zoom back in, as you can see, it's very conveniently located to Staunton. As a matter of fact, it's 10 or 15 minutes to get to downtown Staunton, about 10 minutes or so just to get to where a lot of the shopping is, and the Walmart in Staunton as well. So that being said, most of the shopping in Staunton is going to be right along Highway 11 here, and also at the intersection of Route 612. That's a busy intersection, but most of your restaurants and shopping is going to be there. Now, Verona's a town of about 4,000 people, and because Staunton sits so close, Staunton has more of the lion's share of the shopping and restaurants, but Verona does have, they have a lot of fast food restaurants there, but they also have a couple other places as well. They've got Armstrong's, and they've got Rack'em Shack'em Ribs, and if you're into Italian, you like pizza and subs, they've got Little Maria's Pizzas and Subs. As far as shopping goes, there is a Food Lion in town, and that Food Lion sits right up here on the up here in the corner of town. And then there's also a Dollar General, Walgreens, and things like that. So there are some things, you can do your shopping, especially your grocery shopping there in Verona, but more often than not, you're probably going to use Verona. You're probably going to be going into Staunton from Verona to get some of the things that you need. So we went into a couple of neighborhoods in Verona as well, but one of the things about Verona is that the neighborhoods, some of them have some smaller homes, and because they're smaller homes, they are less expensive than some of the other homes in the areas around Verona. Of course, their properties are tending to move quickly as well, but you'll find a lot of homes in Verona in the 200,000s. You may even find some in the upper ones as well. And of course, there's homes in Verona and around that are more expensive than that, but you're going to find a lot of homes between 1,000, 1,200 square feet that are in and around Verona. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn the satellite on here, and we'll go into a couple of the different communities that we looked at when we were in Verona. And as you can see, the first one here, I'm zooming, panning over to the southeast, just on the other side of the interstate here, and we looked in the Bel Air neighborhood. And many of the homes in the Bel Air neighborhood are ranch-style homes. Of course, there's other homes as well. Many of them are between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet. And many of them sell in the $200,000 range. You may even find some in there as well that are below that amount. So, but after we went through the Bel Air neighborhood, we went ahead and we went back into town here a little bit, and we went into the Kenwood Park neighborhood. It's a very small neighborhood down here near the interstate. Down here near the interstate. And you actually have to drive through the Skyview neighborhood to get there. But because they were built very similarly in time, there's a few years difference, but it's almost all like one neighborhood. And here in the Kenwood Park neighborhood, though, you're going to find homes, again, many ranch-style homes, but other types of varieties of homes, and they're a little bit larger than we looked at in the Bel Air neighborhood for the most part. And most of the homes in the Kenwood Park neighborhood are going to run you from about $250,000 to $400,000, and many of them were built in the 1970s and in the 1980s. So as far as recreation goes in the town of Verona, at least outdoor recreation, there really isn't a whole lot of parks or trails, things like that. You're going to have to go up into the Shenandoah Valley up into the mountains to get that, the Blue Ridge or the Appalachian. There's a small trail here. The trail's at Mill Place there in the industrial park. But I would also say that there are opportunities for golf, though, that are very close by. As a matter of fact, just right down here, they're not technically in Verona, but you have Ingleside Resort Golf Course, which sits right here, and then you have the club at Ironwood, which is a semi-private course that sits right here. And as you can see, they are, at least Ingleside is a little bit out of Verona, but they're very close. It's like your next door neighbor there. So if you're looking to golf, you do have a couple golf courses to get out and walk into enjoy as well. And so one final place that I want to show you here, just outside of Verona, technically it's in Staunton, but it's really closer to Verona than it is Staunton. And that is right here, and that is the Oak Grove Theater. The Oak Grove Theater is a really, really neat place. As the name says, it is out in an oak grove, and it is an outdoor theater. And a little bit about the history of it, and you can look at it yourself. It comes from their website. But the theater was created by Fletcher Collins, as he was a teacher at Mary Baldwin College, which was an all-women's college at the time when he was teaching. Well, in the 1950s, the drama department there at Mary Baldwin became very, very enriched, and they were doing very well. But because they were an all-girls college, they actually had to use men from in the town of Staunton there to play the parts. So as time went on, though, the popularity increased, and people said, we don't want to just see plays during the school year. We want to see plays all summer long as well. And so Fletcher Collins, with the help of others, went and found this oak grove just to the west of Verona, and cut down trees and made seats out of them. And in 1954, had their first performance at the Oak Grove Theater. Kind of interesting, though, that first performance, like I said, it was on seats that was made from the trees that they cut down. And as a matter of fact, they had lights that were suspended from the branches, and the control board was on a board high between two trees at the rear of the audience. Now, I'm happy to say that today the theater's been upgraded and there's nice seats there and everything today, but kind of an interesting thing there, and how it all started in the Oak Grove Theater. Another thing about it as well is there at the Oak Grove Theater, they have multiple plays, of course, every year, but then they also have, for over 40 years now, they have the Oak Grove Music Festival as well. So if you're in the town of Verona or anywhere in the area during the summertime, I suggest you jump on their website and take a look at one of the plays there. I have no doubt that a nice summer evening will be a great night to go out and watch a play in the countryside. That being said, Leslie and I are going to jump back in the car here, and we're going to drive on up the road a couple miles to Fort Defiance and Mount Sidney. And we started our journey in Fort Defiance at the Augusta Military Academy, which was in operation from 1874 to 1984. For 110 years, it served as a military academy, and unfortunately it's closed today, but there is a military academy museum there, which is kept alive by some of the alumni, some of the cadets, and other lovers of the academy there, so that that tie is still there. You can go enjoy that at the museum that is there. There's not a whole lot in Fort Defiance, however. As a matter of fact, I'll just jump in here to the map real quick and show you that. Here's Fort Defiance, and as you can see, there's really no town center per se. However, you do have, this is where the Augusta Military Museum was. But one of the things about Fort Defiance that I would call out is this is where many kids in the northern part of Augusta County go to school. As you can see, there's the Clymore Elementary School, the Stewart Middle School, and then Fort Defiance High School, all there in Fort Defiance. So while there may not be a huge town center in Fort Defiance, certainly has a zip code again that's stretched out over a period of several square miles. But this is where a lot of the students would go to school if you were to live in the northern Augusta County area. I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit more so you can see both of the towns here. As you can see, here's Mount Sidney, and then again about a mile and a half away from center to center, about 2-minute drive, is Fort Defiance. And the post office for Mount Sidney and Fort Defiance is actually right in Mount Sidney. As you can see, they're both located along Highway 11, which again parallels Highway 81, Interstate 81. But one thing about the two towns is there's not direct access right from them right to the interstate. If you're going to get on the interstate, you're either going to have to travel up to Weyers Cave to get onto the interstate right here, or back down to Verona to get onto the interstate right down in here. So that being said, I mean, it's not too far of a drive to get there. And these two towns, because of that, they have their own vibe and their own feel to them as well. And restaurants go in Mount Sidney. There's not a whole lot there, but if you were to go here, you do have Black Widow Firearms if you're looking for that, or you actually have Mount Sidney Flying Pizza here as well in downtown Mount Sidney. As you can see here on the map, most of the population in Mount Sidney lies to the west of Highway 11. Now, the thing about this is, as you go from Highway 11 on this way. You see a ridge here, and as you go up the ridge, some of the homes that are higher up here on the ridge, you get some really nice views of the valley in Mount Sidney. So that being said, this is where we looked at all of our homes in Mount Sidney. It was in the Valley View neighborhood. Most of those homes here in the Valley View neighborhood were built between the 1940s and the 1980s. One of the homes that we looked at here was selling, it actually sold for $405,000. It had been built in 1950. It had 4 beds and 2 baths. It was very nicely finished with over 2,100 square feet of living space with a nice 2-car garage. And that's what's happening in a lot of the towns. Of course, things are being remodeled and refurbished, and sometimes you can buy a house at a lesser rate, fix it up, and live in it or sell it for a profit. Or like I say, if you get one that's already fixed up, you're turnkey ready and you can move right into it in many cases. Most of the homes in the neighborhood here in Mount Sidney sell from about $250,000 to $450,000. Now, there's really no parks to speak of here in Mount Sidney, and hiking again, you can go into the Appalachian Mountains or into the under the Appalachian Trail and the Blue Ridge Mountains. But of course, the community being so small, you can walk up and down the streets in the neighborhood and without much trouble at all. It's a very nice walk there. Not much industry in either one of these two towns. They serve mostly as a bedroom community for Harrisonburg or for the Staunton area as well. Leslie and I are going to go ahead and jump back in the car, and we're going to drive a few miles up the road into Weyers Cave. And we actually finished our expedition in our vlog video in Weyers Cave at the Valley Pike Farm Market, one of Leslie's favorite places. And Valley Pike Farm Market has over 300 craft beers and wines. It has a coffee shop. As you can see, Leslie, she loves her coffee. It has pastries. It has a deck that you can sit on and enjoy. It has a nice wedding venue. It has food truck there. It just has a lot of other cool stuff there. Boar's Head meats and cheeses, and great place to get a sandwich. And we often get up there, and when we do, we like to go up into the loft up there above the place and enjoy the sandwich there together. So Weyers Cave, I'll pull up again here the map. You can see kind of the boundaries of where Weyers Cave is, and you can see again here's Interstate 81 that runs north and south, and you also have Highway 11, of course, paralleling Interstate 81. The really cool thing about Weyers Cave is that you are almost exactly in the middle between Staunton to the south and Harrisonburg to the north. So it's kind of nice. If you need like a Best Buy, you can't get that in Staunton, just shoot to Harrisonburg to get it. And so a lot of nice it's just nice to be there, to have that convenience to go both ways. And yet you're still, as you can see, it's a very rural area, and you get some nice views from different parts of Weyers Cave as well. Now, as far as shopping goes in Weyers Cave, there's a small shopping center here actually in Weyers Cave. You can see there's a Dollar General there. There's a bank there as well. And there's a Karis Home Consignments place, and across the street there's an Augusta Health Urgent Care Facility. So, and then there's also down here there's a very nice community center as well for the town. One of the other things about Weyers Cave is that it actually sits very close to a regional airport. As you can see, I'll zoom out here just a little bit. The Shenandoah Valley Regional Airport has several airlines that will fly out of Shenandoah Valley Regional Airport, and one of those is American, and they have jumper flights that go into the different larger airports. So if you need an airport, there is one close by. If you have your pilot's license as well, you can hang your plane there and you can fly out of that airport as well. Here on the map here in Weyers Cave, you see, first of all, the first neighborhood we took a look at was the Harrisonburg neighborhood. As you can see, it's a very large neighborhood. There's a lot of homes, probably at least about 400 homes, I would say, in this particular neighborhood. Most of the homes in this neighborhood are around 200, 300,000, maybe into the fours as well. Matter of fact, the home that we looked at in this neighborhood sold for $294,900, which is about $219 a square foot. It was built in 2004, had 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. It had 1,344 square feet of finished living space, and it sat on a 0.29 acre lot and had a nice 2-car garage along with it as well. If you're looking for a newer home even than that, you can come right here, and this neighborhood, as you can see here on the map, it is kind of spotty in homes. That's because there's still many homes that are being built there. This is the Autumn Breeze neighborhood. And although this neighborhood is smaller, like I say, it has a lot newer homes, and they range in price from probably about $300,000 to about $500,000, $550,000. But like I say, some of these, there's actually the north end here, many of them sit up on top of the hill, so you can have a great view over here to the Blue Ridge Mountains as well. So just a couple of the neighborhoods here in the Weyers Cave area. So one of the other things I wanted to do here in the video is I wanted to share with you just a little bit about what's the cost of living in some of these towns. And as you can see here, I've taken Weyers Cave, for example. Well, they're not all exactly alike. They are similar because of the areas that they're in. But the cost of living in Weyers Cave, for example, if you were to live in Charlottesville, Virginia, just on the other side of the mountain, about an hour away, the cost of living is much less expensive. You can see in Charlottesville, the overall cost of living is about 3% greater than the rest of the United States, and housing is about 7% greater. Whereas in Weyers Cave, the average there is about 5% less overall, and about 8% less on homes. So that means if you were to make $100,000 in Charlottesville, you'd only have to make about $92,000 a year to have the same style of living. So we have, more expensive in Charlottesville. Of course, Charlottesville has a lot of things to do in it. It's a great town in itself, but it is a little less expensive to live in the Weyers Cave area and in some of these other smaller towns. Everybody always asks about high-speed internet, and here you can see I've circled the towns. Fort Defiance, of course, Mount Sidney is right there by it as well. But I've circled the 4 towns, and you can see pretty much anything that runs along the Interstate 81 corridor and anything out along 250. It has very much the high-speed internet. As you move a little bit out toward the mountains, it does get a little more spotty, although there are some different companies that are moving in. In here, if you were to drop down as far as your speeds, internet speeds, you can see that the entire area is definitely covered. But one kind of interesting thing is you can see that this is high speed, very, very high speed internet, upload and download speed. And as you can see, it's coming into the area. And so that is very near, and of course it's already in Verona, and it's very near some of these towns as well. Always get asked about schools, and the schools that we've talked about in these towns, the students are all, or most all of them, are going to attend Augusta County public schools. There may be a few up toward Weyers Cave. If you're in the Rockbridge County School District, you may attend in the Rockbridge in the Rockbridge County public schools. But kind of divided them up here: the Churchville and then Fort Defiance, Mount Sidney, and Weyers Cave, because there's kind of differences between where your child goes to school. And this isn't 100% proof, but I mean, it is definitely very close to where your child might go to school. So if you're in Churchville, for example, you can see the Churchville Elementary School, and you can see the large district and how it's spread out. That's where the students out in Churchville will go to high school. Fort Defiance, Mount Sidney, and Weyers Cave are going to go to Clymore there in Fort Defiance. We took a look at that earlier. Both of those get a B- ranking, so they are above average overall with the rest of the schools here throughout Virginia. If you're looking at a middle school, you're going to go to Beverly Manor. Beverly Manor sits, as you can see, right on the border between Staunton and between the Churchville area. And that's where you're going to go to middle school. And again, in Fort Defiance, if you're in Fort Defiance, Mount Sidney, or Weyers Cave, you're going to go to Fort Defiance right off Highway 11 there in Fort Defiance. Churchville has a B- for Beverly, and Fort Defiance, they have a B rating as well, according to niche.com. Then finally, the high schools. If you're in Churchville, you're going to go to Buffalo Gap High School, just a few minutes south of Churchville. Overall, they get a B rating. And if you're in the other towns, you're going to go to Fort Defiance High School, and it overall receives a B rating as well. And the map there kind of gives you an idea of where they're pulling students in. As you can see there, that's a pretty large district that pulls into both Churchville, Buffalo Gap, and Fort Defiance high schools as well. like to talk about the different values of the different homes. And in Churchville, last year, there were 44 homes in the last 12 months. There have been 44 homes that had sold in the Churchville area. And you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner, kind of that Churchville area and how it spreads out. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about just downtown Churchville, but the average price of a home is about $288,000. And you can see it range in price almost up to $2 million, I'm sure, for something with more land and probably some views as well. The average days in the market was 43, but the median days was 11. So again, like most of the towns out here, things sold very, very quickly. Currently, you can see what's on the market, about an average of about $400,000, and it's about $192 a square foot as to what is currently on the market in the Churchville area. Of course, we looked at Verona, and I told you some of the homes in Verona were a little bit smaller, but many of them had a lesser price as well. And as you can see, the average price of the 55 homes that were sold in the Verona area last year averaged about $242,000. But they did range all the way up to $1.25 million. Not on the market very long at all. Median days on the market 5. So if you're looking for a home in Verona to get into, you're going to have to move on it very quickly. Right now, about $280,000 is the average home on the market, about $179 a square foot. So Mount Sidney, in Mount Sidney, the average home that sold there last year was $320,000. And again, up to $1.2 million. Average days on market is 16, but look at that median, 4 days on the market. Currently on the market right now, the homes that are on the market, they're about $300,000 and $179 a square foot as well. Fort Defiance, you can see down the bottom right-hand corner, there is an area for Fort Defiance, and last year there were only 8 homes sold in the area. No 2-bedroom homes sold in the area, but the average price that sold was $343,000, and you can see the price range up there to $735,000. And interesting though, they didn't quite move as fast. I'm not sure quite why that is, but it is nonetheless, it is what it is. And so right now the average price, there's just a couple homes on the market, and their average price is about $374,000. $159 a square foot, so not much comes onto the market compared to the others in the Fort Defiance area. Of course, we talked about not being a town center there as well, and that's probably part of the reason why. And finally, Weyers Cave. You can see that last year in that large area of Weyers Cave, there were about 35 homes that sold for an average of $313,000, all the way up to $1.5 million. But look at that median days on the market. Only 4 days on the market. So, like I say, if you're looking to get into Weyers Cave, you got to move quickly on that as well. Currently, the homes that are on the market there in Weyers Cave are listed for an average list price of $325,000 and about $173 a square foot. So at the beginning of the video, I told you that if you waited around to the end of the video, I would tell you about one of these towns and something in it every year that is very big. I mean, it is a big event, okay? The town that we're talking about is Weyers Cave. And in June of every year, Weyers Cave at their community center hosts the annual Virginia Squatch Fest. So if you're a believer in Bigfoot /Sasquatch /the Yeti whatever you want to call it, I encourage you during the month of June to go to the community center there and spend a couple hours. You can do some tree knocks and some howls, and you can buy some t-shirts and eat some food and all the different things that they have to do there. Just kind of a little fun way to spend a couple hours on a Saturday in June. So that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for hanging around to the end. I really do appreciate that, and hope that it's given you a better idea of some of the towns between Harrisonburg and between Staunton and what they're like a little bit and what they have to offer. And if you're looking to sell your house in one of these towns, or you're looking to move from one town to the other, or if you're out of the area and you're looking to move into the area, like I say, please pick up the phone, give us a call. Leslie and I would be happy to help you in selling your home or in your search for the home. We live here in Virginia's mountains and valleys, and I can honestly say that we live here because we love to live here, and it's one of the most beautiful places, and it's just different, and we just really like it. And so we love working with the folks that are here and love working with folks that are coming in and out of the area to help make them new residents as well. So with that being said, give us a call, shoot us an email, send us a text. We'd be happy to help you. And until the next video down the road, and until next time, We'll see you around town.